Hey, thanks for joining me today. Welcome back to Family, Health, and Hustle. So, I appreciate you joining me on the show today. Still working on getting the consistency of the show down. As many of you know, and we'll be talking about this throughout the course of the podcast. It's just me right now. It's a one-man show, and I got a few things going on, a few things I'm trying to get off the ground. And also, juggling the family life, work life, healthy life, trying to get healthy, things like that. So, working on getting this consistent. I definitely want to keep it going at one a week right now, and then hopefully very soon scale to two a week, and then do a minimum of 2 shows a week. And then if we can go up to 3 from there, then perfect. That's awesome. But and I say that just because this is a process as well. And I've said this a few times in the other episodes, and I'll continue to say this, that it's really about consistently showing up, whatever it is that you're doing with your family, with anything health related, health goals, and with your hustle goals. With your family, sometimes we have rough days. If you're a parent or have a sibling or a child or whatever, you can have rough days with your family at times, and that's okay, because the way I look at it is we take everything day to day. If I didn't have a good day today, whether it was with family life, whether I didn't eat very well, or I didn't go to the gym, or maybe I didn't work on any of my business goals, that's okay, because tomorrow's a new day. And I'm not going to think about yesterday anymore. I'm not going to think about tomorrow. I'm just going to think about what I need to do today. And every day is a new day. And that's super important, I think, as we are on this journey together. And even with this podcast, I wanted to do multiple last week. And finally I was like, I'm getting a little overwhelmed. Halloween just ended, and we have holidays coming up, and we have things going on with the family. We have one of the businesses my wife and I own have been pretty busy the last couple days. And, sometimes you just can't do it, but that's okay. At least get on the microphone. That's my goal, and to ramp that up to 2 shows a week. And as we go forward, I'll explain kind of what that other business is that we do, and explain some of the journey with that. It's brand new. It's only 2 years old, and it's been fun, but definitely a lot of work. So today I wanted to talk, since the podcast is called Family, Health, and Hustle, I thought, hey, it might be good to actually address those 3 things on some of the episodes. So today I wanted to talk about family. I wanted to kind of introduce myself and allow you to kind of get to know me a little better, and what my upbringing was, kind of family life I had. And I'm extremely blessed when it came to family. I'll be honest. I know a lot of people have rough family lives. And for me, I had both my mom and my dad, good parents, who worked hard to get us on the right track. And, there's only so much a parent can do before you got to let people make mistakes. So there was definitely lots of mistakes from me and my siblings, and we'll continue to learn and grow. But, so as far as family goes, again, I have a mom and a dad. I'm actually named after my dad, Anthony Hernandez, my mom, Jill, and both of them met in high school. I think my dad was, a little bit of a bad boy, but he was looking for a good girl. And, that's how he explains it. But I'm sure my mom probably explains it the other way, that she was, she was the bad girl, the cool girl, looking for, a cool guy, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to ask them when it comes time. But anyway, so they met in high school, got married, I think at 19, had me at 20 or 21. I'm pretty sure it's 21. And then I have 4 other siblings. I have 3 younger sisters and then a youngest brother. And between myself and my brother, who's the youngest, there's about 10 and a half, 11 years span. So growing up, I feel bad because right as he was kind of getting older and wanted to hang out and stuff, I was, getting into having a girlfriend and wanting to hang out with her. And anytime he wanted to hang out, I was like, sorry, buddy, I'm, hanging out with the lady tonight. Because it was new to me. It was exciting. It was high school. It was like, oh yeah, I'm cool. I have a girlfriend. And looking back at it, I mean, learned a lot from there. I do, feel bad that, I was too naive and young and just didn't know, too immature to know that, the girlfriend would come and go and that the relationship with my brother and my sisters were the most important part. And you'll probably hear me reference that in the future as well, because it is something that, I talk about not wanting to go back in time and do things different, right? We talk about, there's people that have a goal and they say, well, if I could go back in time and do that differently. But they use that as an excuse to not pursue the goal. And for me, I'm going to say this, but understanding that I'm working in the future to have better relationships with members of my family. But that's one thing I wish I could do, is go back and change and kind of slap high school and middle school Anthony around and be like, hey man, come on. That girl might be pretty, or those friends might be fun, but when you get older, guess what? The friends probably have come and gone, and the girlfriend's come and gone, and you need to really build a relationship with your family. Not that I have a bad relationship with my siblings, but I was just kind of doing my own thing, and they were doing their own thing. So the sibling next youngest under me that's my sister, and she is, I think, about 4 years younger than me. And then under her, I think it's 2 years for the next sister, and then another 2 years for the next sister, and then I think another 2 years for him. I don't want to do the math right here in front of you, but I'm pretty sure that's about what it is. And so, again, I was in high school doing my own thing, and right when they were growing up, and they know me as probably more of the tormentor, which, an older brother's supposed to do that. An older brother's supposed to hassle them here and there. And we did, and we played when we were younger, and I loved tormenting them. I love tormenting them to this day. I have a sister who is 23, I think, 26, 25, something like that. I'm horrible with the ages, to be honest with you. I just know she's early 20s, and I still mess with her all the time. I mess with her, and she has a little daughter as well, and I mess with her, and it's it's in our blood. It's we have to. It's our responsibility as the older brother. So I have these wonderful 4 younger siblings. They all have families now. My next youngest sister below me has 2 children around the same age as my children. The one under there is dating a pretty cool guy, kind of, exploring and living life the way that she wants. And I'm really excited for her and excited to see her next time and hear some of her adventures. And then under that, I have another sister who has a little girl who is just sweet as can be, sassy as can be. And then my brother and is married now as well with his wife. And so I mean, we're a pretty tight-knit family. We like to spend holidays together. Obviously, with in-laws now, we bounce around a little bit, but we try to go over to my parents' house every few weeks. Do dinner over there, celebrate holidays, things like that. And so I would say that there's definitely worse family relationships in the world. I'm very blessed when it comes to the relationship I have with my family and the support that we share. Now, growing up, my dad worked. Both my mom and my dad worked. My mom works in the mortgage business, and my dad was working mostly in like a medical related business. I'm not going to name companies exactly, but worked at the same company for most of my life up until I was about 25. And both 9-to-5 people, both hardworking. My dad went to school, my mom didn't, and my mom is in the mortgage business. If you know anything about the mortgage business, huge opportunity there. So she jumped in, learned everything she could, is a very hard worker, and has really excelled and succeeded quite a bit in the mortgage business. I mean, I'm still at that point. I'm sure some children are at a point where like they're making the same amount of money as their parents and stuff like that. But I'm still at a point where I'm like looking up to her going, one day I'll do as well as her. So, I mean, she's just done a great job, and she loves it and works very hard and deserves every bit of it. And then my dad was working for the same company till I was about 25, and then kind of went and started exploring a few different jobs. Just kind of, I think, got a little fed up with being in the management of that company maybe, and dealing with a lot of stuff. And he says, "Hey, I need to go try some other stuff." And so he's now at a different company, very happy. just kind of doing his thing. He's the kind of guy that, most people will go 8 to 5. He'll show up at, 6 and get off at 3. And he's, super effective, crazy good at planning and executing strategy. And so he's very, I guess the optimized might be the right word. I mean, he just does a good job. So growing up, those are my parents, and my mom stayed home for a little while with us, but ended up going back to work. And the interesting thing is when it comes to money, my dad, it's funny because my parents are so smart. We've even said, now that we're grown up, the kids are like, if you wanted to be rich, you could have been. And my dad was like, yeah, I know, but I just didn't care about money. And I'm like, now I'm like, dang you, like it didn't have to be about the money, but it would have been really helpful if you had some money to help us out. Well, I got a business idea. I need to borrow some money. But that's kind of the life we lived is they worked hard, and they didn't care about being rich and being famous, and, social media wasn't around. They weren't on social media. They were just kind of doing their thing and taking care of our family. And I really appreciate it. And they were, I would say that later on in life, they were probably pretty well off, except me, even being the oldest, like you wouldn't have known. And what I mean by that is on my 16th birthday, my dad was like, hey, I'm going to buy you a car. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Like, I'm going to get such a sweet car. Like, and again, I know a lot of kids get, Corvettes and trucks and all this awesome stuff. And then there's a lot of people out there that don't get anything. And so I was very grateful to get something. And then my dad took me out to go look at cars, and it was probably right around, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but it was probably right around 2005 that we went to get a vehicle. And we pull over to the side of the road, and there's 2 cars. There's one that's immaculate. I don't even remember what kind of car it was. It was white, nice paint. The interior was clean and crisp, and it was just a good looking car, especially for a first car for a 10th grader who was probably going to beat it up. And it was $700. And I was like, this is it. This is awesome. I really appreciate this. Like, I'm so excited. And my dad said, no. Let's get this car. And there was a car right next to it. It was a 1992 Ford Escort. And it was a hatchback. It was a 2-door. The paint was chipping. It was a manual. And this was my first car. I didn't know how to drive a manual. And it was just beat up. The interior was tan with all these stains. The plastic on the dashboard, everything was cracked. And I just looked at my dad and I said, what are you talking about? I said, this car over here, this white one, this is the one. Like, this is why we're here. And the difference between the 2 cars, the Ford Escort, it was a blue Ford Escort. It was $500. This white car, $700, so $200 more. And I said, look, I know you got the money. Like I'm not dumb. I know you're just frugal, but I know you got some money. So let's get this one. And he said, no, we're gonna get the blue one. And I said, come on, let's get this one. And there's one thing with my dad is, growing up, he was definitely a discipliner. I'll be honest, I got spanked. I didn't understand it then. I appreciate it now. I definitely got discipline, and I think a lot of people might kind of flinch when you talk about that, but I think from what I've seen with friends and family, that those who typically are not disciplined tend to be more disrespectful as they grow up. And I feel bad for them, because it feels like, you see the parent, and sometimes the parent's trying to be more of a friend. And if that's your style, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just talking about, this is what I saw. But on the flip side, my dad disciplined me and my siblings, and I actually had a lot of respect for him, and I knew that at a certain point there was a line drawn, and not to go past that line. And so this was one of those times. I was like, I know you got the money. Let's get that white car. And he looked at me, he says, if you ask me one more time, you're not going to get any vehicle. And he was serious when he would say that stuff. He was solid. So I said, fine, I'll get this goofy looking car. And we got it. And there's a whole long story to it. I was driving home a few days later, and the exhaust system, like the exhaust pipe, fell out and was dragging on the ground, and he had to spend all this money to fix it. And we give him crap for that. But my dad was always very frugal. He had some money, but you'd never know. There's another time when I think it was probably 10th or 11th grade. He was going to the grocery store. He says, "Anyone need anything?" I said, "Hey, I just need some new deodorant." He says, "Well, why don't you go get that?" And I was working for like a pizza shop at the time, making $5 an hour. And I said, and I think this was actually like before I got my vehicle. And he's like, you go get it yourself. And I said, "No, come on, man. I got stuff to do. I'm going to school, whatever. Can you just go get me a stick of deodorant?" So this son of a gun comes home with a travel size women's deodorant. And I said, "What is this?" And he goes, "That's your deodorant." And I said, "Dude, this is tiny. I know you got it from like the travel stuff that you can like pack in bags. And B, it's a woman's deodorant." And my dad just looked at me and goes, "Yeah, but it was $2." And I had to wear that woman. I tried. I honestly tried to wear that deodorant. And I was sitting in class and I smelled like a girl all day. And again, this is one of those stories that people might flinch now. We live in a different time. Saying that I smell like a girl, some people might be like, "Hey, well, that's not right. Guys can smell like that too." Okay, whatever. Take it however you want right now. But back then, I was like, I smell pretty. I didn't want to smell pretty. I wanted to smell, tough. I wanted to smell smooth, and I smell pretty. And that's when I think I really was like, okay, this guy's crazy. He's not serious. And that's something I always remember. I mean, that would be the frugality of my dad. Is he could have done that, but he was always looking for the other options, the more affordable options. And the thing is when he wanted something really nice, he'd get it. And that's maybe why he could, is because he was careful with everything else. My mom, on the other side, loves spending money for the things that she likes. Again, nothing fancy, but when it came to dinners or taking out the family or going on vacation or doing things, she definitely loves taking care of people, and which I appreciate as well. And I got to apologize. I'm like getting over a little cold or something. So my voice is a little hoarse today, and I'm sipping on a little water here. So if you hear little random, little quiet spots in this, it's probably me just taking a little sip. But anyway, so lifestyle, that's how it was. Grew up, went to public school, elementary school, middle school, high school. Grew up in I was born in New Jersey, and we actually ended up moving out here when I was younger. And so I went through all of schooling, most of schooling out here in Utah, and high school, middle school, things like that. Had a pretty active childhood. I mean, my dad tried to get me in martial arts and some sports, a little bit of hockey when I was younger, some wrestling. When I got in high school, I wanted to be, I still kind of I've always wanted to have a little bit more, be more creative. And so I wanted to do acting, and so I got into theater. I was also in band. I did a little bit of the piano, a little bit of the trumpet, things like that. So we all had some great opportunity growing up. Younger sisters all played piano and you did dance. My brother was kind of the football star in the family, because most of my family is like between 5'8" and 6 foot, and all of a sudden my brother came along and is like 6'5" or something. I mean, he was just a big boy, and so he had kind of all types of opportunities growing up in sports. And we grew up in a very conservative household, to be honest with you. We definitely were people that believed that work hard and you can get ahead. You definitely, American loving, freedom loving people. And my grandparents, so my dad's parents, actually had immigrated here from Cuba and Puerto Rico. So immigrants to the country. He actually grew up back east. So I was born in New Jersey. That's where he grew up, and my mom grew up. And then we kind of migrated out here, just mostly because after I was born and I was starting to grow up, and I think a few of my siblings were born, my parents were just like, we think that there's some areas in Utah that were a little more family friendly, and they wanted to really focus in on that. So it was overall very good. Like I said, we remain close today, and try to share in activities and birthdays and holidays and things like that. Halloween was just this week, so this coming, Thanksgiving and Christmas will be kind of bouncing around between in-laws and family. So definitely try to spend time together. And as I mentioned at the beginning, like some of the experiences I had when I was younger really kind of showed me that, hey, these relationships are very important and you shouldn't neglect them. And I would use that and say the same thing to anyone today. If you are looking at having a strong foundation, make sure family's part of it. And that doesn't have to be your mom or your dad or your sisters. It can be friends that can, they're considered family, but you need people to be able to rely on, because things will get hard. I promise you, there's always going to be times in your life where things will get hard. And if you don't have a solid foundation, a solid reason to work on those things, it can put you in a dangerous place. And you got to be careful about that. And that's why family is one of the fundamental things that I believe in and talk about. And that's one of the reasons we're focusing on that in this show. Now, outside of my main family that I grew up with, I'm married to a beautiful wife, and I have 2 children. I have a little boy who is 5 years old and a little girl who's 2 years old. And we'll talk a little bit more about them in future episodes, but we are living and hustling and staying busy, and the kids are just grown up now into their personalities, and so that keeps us on our toes. And trying to get them involved in things like I was when I was younger, thinking about sports they can get involved in, like t-ball or piano or things like that. And so we are trying to create some of that family unity and opportunity and those activities and growth at this point now with our young family that I got to experience when I was younger, and also reflecting on some of the things that maybe I didn't do so well, like I said, like some neglect of some relationships as I got older, and that's something I'm going to try to stay aware of as my kids get older, and try to help them understand that those relationships are important, and guide them through that, so that maybe they don't have those same that when they get older they're not looking back saying, oh, I made the same mistake. So we'll talk about my family in future episodes, but I mean that's a little bit about where I came from. Like I said, the name of the podcast is Family, Health, and Hustle, so I figured might as well tell you a little bit about my family, and that's part of my journey, is how can I replicate some of the great experiences that my parents gave me when I was younger and make that even better for my family. How can I replicate some of those experiences? How can I amplify our relationships, not just as a parent, but as a parent, you have to kind of walk that weird boundary of I want to be your friend, but I can't really be your friend, but I also am kind of your friend, but I'm also in charge, and I have to make sure I raise a good person that's not going to screw up their life or do something silly. And so, going forward, that's going to be some of the things I work on, is how can I balance those things and bring some huge benefits to the family and grow together, but also, be responsible for them. So, and I think that's something that a lot of us share, is how can we pursue goals and dreams and still not screw this up over here, right? Or maybe we put all of our attention in the family, but then how do we make sure that we're not screwing up our health goals or our business goals, or, so it's balancing of the three, and it is hard. Trust me, it is hard. I'm with you. I understand. We're in the I guess the pit together. I hate calling it that, but we're together out here trying to figure things out, and that's one of the reasons I created this podcast, is so that we can create a community of like-minded individuals saying, "Hey, we're just trying to do our best. We're trying to do our best, and here's why we're trying to do our best. Here's the 3 core things that we're trying to do." And again, like I always say, and I will keep saying it, the joy comes in the journey. So this is where the fun is. Don't just be worried about accomplishing whatever it is. Like this is where the fun is. Even in family things, there's going to be times when we don't agree or we don't get along, and that's okay, and it will suck in the moment. But overall, like, this is where the joy comes, is going through all this and growing. So today was how can you summarize a family life in 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever this is running so far? Just wanted to give you a quick highlight, and we'll talk more about where I came from and the experiences I have. And I hope as we go along that I'll hear some of your experiences, and maybe they're frankly way better, or maybe they're way worse. I don't know, but I think it doesn't really matter. Again, where we're coming from individually is just the fact that we are moving and we are doing things and we are progressing. And that is really what matters. And we're all going to end up in different spots as well. And that's okay, because we don't all want to end up in the same spot. There's all different things that we want to accomplish. And our journey will be, in the specifics, different, but generally the same. And what I mean by that is we'll have different scenarios and experiences, but there's the same principles that we have to learn together. And I'm excited for that. If you haven't already, check us out online, familyhealthandhustle.com. Go there and download the 6 Secrets for Success. These are the 6 fundamental principles that I think we need to be successful. And what I mean by that is they're the foundation. As I said a little bit ago, things are going to get hard. Things aren't going to be perfect. We need to understand why it's so important to have these things in place to fall back on. Because if you don't have something to fall back on, that's when things can get dark. And we don't want that. There's so many people out there that don't have anything to fall back on, and it just amplifies the misery. I mean, there's no better word to say it. The misery of whatever they're going through. When they could fall back onto some other level of support. And that's what those 6 secrets are, those 6 principles for success. Check those out. Thank you so much for joining me today and learning a little bit more about me and my family and where we come from. And I'm excited to share more as we grow and continue listening and speaking and working together in this community. Thanks so much. This has been Family Health and Hustle. I'll talk to you next time.